wheels on the liberal bus go round and round, round and round. Hey, welcome back to Waking the People, and I am your host, Sir Chad Everbroshiers, and I am with my wonderful and deeply insightful partner in crime. Actually, I'm kidding. Neither one of us have a record. Joshua, your Patriot, my Kraken McClendon. Oh, Joshua, what do we got in store for us this episode?
Good evening, our loyal subscribers and my faithful patriots. Welcome to another episode of Waking the People. Like I said in the last episode, Chad and I have a goal to hit 60 subscribers by the end of April. We're trucking along, so if you have not subscribed yet, please go ahead and do so. We got links on my page, Chad's page. We're on YouTube, Rumble. Just hit that subscribe, pound that bell so you can get all the notifications when Chad and I post more content. But this week, Chad, a lot of stuff this week. Actually, it's almost like compounding every week. We always say that we don't really there's not a shortage of things to talk about, but there's definitely some nitpicking involved is what we think will be the most controversial or the most interesting conversation, I guess you could say. So we got some Major League Baseball, guys, come on, sports, just play sports. We got the Georgia, the new Georgia voting laws that kind of, were the catalyst point to, the whole MLB decision, which we'll get into. We got Florida suing the CDC, just another day in paradise down here, the Sunshine State. We'll just sue the federal government, I guess. And then we got, some Biden laws, with the constant increasing of new gun laws that are, being pushed forth, and whether or not they pass, I guess, yet to be determined, but all kinds of stuff, Chad. It's
Come on, man.
It's exhausting.
You mean we can't just throw out "come on, man" and expect people to believe whatever our position is? Man, I was lied to in college. Come on, man. Well, I know that we got a few things to get into, and I got some fun little rants that I'm going to get into myself. And just so that you all know, prior to the episode, Joshua and I get so excited about what we're going to talk about. We happen to get into the subjects just briefly, and there's always one of us reprimands the other one with going, "Don't burn the subject." Yeah, that happened again just before this. So I know that we're both kind of itching to get to this topics. How we actually do the show, just so you guys aren't, if you're not aware, we don't actually talk about what we're going to go over throughout the week. We may send the subject, but not our opinions, not our views. What you hear when you watch the episodes is pretty much Joshua and I right there. This is we're hearing each other's position on it for the first time, or a more in-depth version of that for the first time. So with that, you guys get to explore it with us. It's an interesting approach, and at this point I'm still enjoying it and preferable to it. So, all right, Joshua. So we got a couple of things to go into. Let's grab our first subject. And we'll kind of go for tick for tack, if you will. You throw yours in, I'll throw mine in after we finish with yours, okay?
Okay. Yeah, so let's go ahead and jump into the Major League Baseball and moving the All-Star game from Atlanta, Georgia to Denver, Colorado. Now, before we get kind of, too deep into the real, details of this situation and this decision, first of all, I feel like there's a lot of people who agree with me on this, but I am so sick of politics and sports coinciding with one another. The reason why people watch sports, the reason why people watch movies, the reason why people watch shows, the reason why people do a lot of things is to escape their reality, right? We want to, kind of deplug to a sense, get back to our roots of just being a human being and just enjoy life for a little bit. So whenever I turn on the TV, I don't need to see, America's pastime being, manipulated and, in my sense, or in my opinion, hurt by, political decisions. So, do you know much about this, Chad? Or, I guess we can go ahead and, we'll just dive into it. So,
yeah, you can dive into it. So, in my opinion on sports is I'm educated in biomechanics, kinesiology, physiology. I've got a pretty extensive background in corrective exercise science. I am a corrective exercise specialist. I have zero interest in the fandom of sports other than the psychology of it, but not getting all involved and, willing to throw down at the bar because somebody's insulted our beloved Tom Brady. I'll tell you what, you talk about my Brady, I'm going to mess you up, boy. I'm not that guy. I'll watch it and go, yeah, that person's not likely going to have a long-standing career, or because you can just see by the mechanics of it if they're going to wear themselves out. So now that I said my piece about it, I'm not against sports. I'm just not a fanboy. So, but I know Joshua likes the sports. No, not picking on you there, Joshua. Although I imagine somebody insults some Brady, you probably, give him a little what's for. But
that's me at the bar, pretty much, like dead ass. But anyway, we'll dive into it.
dead ass.
So Georgia, they recently changed some things with their voting laws. Now, I did some digging. I wanted to see what kind of changes they made and why that kind of gave the Major League Baseball the incentive to move from Atlanta to Colorado. So one of the big ones, and it's one that I'm kind of going to get into a later topic, but I'm going to go ahead and bring up, is that no water handed out for people standing in line to vote. Now, I call me crazy. This is one of the most ridiculous outrages I've ever seen in my life. Whenever I go anywhere, I just bring either my Orca cup, because remember, we don't like Yeti, so Orca cup. I bring my Orca cup, or I bring some kind of water to drink anywhere I go. So if you're so upset that now you can't get water handed to you in the line, just bring water with you. Just bring it with you. Problem solved. No, you don't got to worry about water anymore. So that was the first one, right? No water standing in line. Another big one is that the proof of identification, right? So in order to vote now in the state of Georgia, you must either show some proof of state identification. So that could be a Georgia state driver's license, a Georgia state ID card. If you have a federal passport, you could obviously use that as well. But a lot of people are outraged at the fact that now all of a sudden you have to use an ID to vote, when if you really think about it, anything in this country that you have to do that's of importance to prove who you are, you must show ID. So, and also if you don't have an ID, Georgia said that they would give you an ID for free. So the fact that you can get an ID that's a pretty fixable problem.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, whenever I voted, I sure did get parched. I'm sitting there, I'm out in the Florida, heat in November because we have summer, 11 and a half months a year. I'm standing out there, man, I was so parched. I just couldn't make it. I almost died. Guys, for everybody's watching this, devil's in the details. If you really want to be able to learn something about what's going on, they're feigning outrage. Now, this is something that I've really seen a lot from the left. I've not seen a lot of that from the right. Little old NPA, me sitting on the fence watching them going, y'all a bunch of jackasses. So feigning this horrible atrocity. You cannot tamper with voters. It's a law. It's been a law. You cannot go up and try to influence their vote. They're there to vote. You're not allowed to influence that. You can't go up wearing your little, Biden, Kamala, Hydra, or whatever the frickin' hell that thing is. You can't go up and say, hey, by the way, hope you guys are having I hope you guys are having a great day. And if you don't mind, have a little bit of water. And, we're just here to help. We're just here to help. Biden, Harris, we're just here to help. We're not going to say to go vote for them. We just want you to see that we did you a solid favor. Now, most states you can sell stuff there. You can go up and be like, hey, man, you want a hot dog? Meet me in the alley. Or you can just go up and be like, hey, you want, I got things to buy. If you want something, you can have it. But you can't give gifts to people to persuade their vote. Secondly, all these voter ID laws. You need an ID to do all kinds of things, but not to vote, not to set the direction of our country. No, we don't need that. Why would we need that? Why do we need to prove that you're actually an American citizen? Why should we have to prove that you are who you say you are? You don't need that stuff. You do need a vaccine passport in the near future just to be able to travel around so that you can move freely amongst the states that you pay the federal government to help run while you live in the state you do and possibly pay taxes there. But no, you shouldn't. You should have to have, the COVID passport, but not an ID to vote. That's wrong. That's unconstitutional. Fucking assholes. There you go. All right. So I'm going to let Joshua continue along because that's stupid. It's just stupid. But what do? Everything that I get, and I get a lot of emails from the Democratic Party, from different organizations in the Democratic Party, elect Democrat women because I'm with her, because she's going to be the best, because she's a she. And no worry, we'll get into the rest of that shit later when you guys don't get to watch it on Facebook Live. All right. So with that, Joshua, sorry to interrupt you, my man.
Oh, good, man. So another little, a little new addition to this law is that the Secretary of State will no longer be the chairman of the state election board. Instead, they will vote a non-member of the board as to oversee the election. So the Secretary of State won't oversee election processes anymore in the state of Georgia. It'll be a non-party, bipartisan, someone who's elected by the General Assembly to be that, the overseer of the election, which I think is freaking awesome, because whether you're, Republican or a Democrat, obviously if it's your guy or if it's your team, because we're just making teams all the time, if it's your team,
baby.
Right? If it's your
we could wreck this country like we stole that bitch, as long as it's my team wins.
It's ridiculous. It's so stupid. So like if your team's in control, then you want to see, the Secretary of State, Stacey Abrams. This is really who this is aimed at. But if you want them to oversee, the election process. And I think that's silly. That's just if anything, from this whole election debacle we went through, this is the kind of stuff that you want to see. Okay, these are the changes you want to see, so that we never have to worry about if there was election fraud again, at least to an extent, right? There's always going to be, some amount of fraudulent balance every year. That's the case. It's just, at least we can have some kind of peace of mind, I guess you would say. Also, just a couple of additions before you jump in there, Chad. We got 17 more days extended for in-person voting. So that means that there was some Saturdays thrown in there, some extended hours on days if people wanted to vote in person. They were able to go and vote in person for an additional 17 more days. Excuse me. At the same time, there were 11-day absentee ballot request deadlines. So you had within 11 days, I guess, of election day, whatever election that may be, whether it be midterm or presidential, et cetera, that you had 11 days to request a mail-in ballot. And that's awesome, right? I mean, this whole thing has been stemmed from, mail-in ballot fraud, and which has gone on all the time. So yeah, good stuff, Chad. I like it. I don't see what MLB is so pissed about, besides the fact that they're a cassette tape in the iPod world, and no one wants to sit there and watch 9 innings of a 1-0 game. I just make it more interesting, make it less games,
They're trying to make it more interesting. They're getting social justice in there. If you don't kneel, you must not be one for it. You must be one that has one of them rebel flags in the back of your pickup on the truck. You must be one of those racists. Yeah. I've come across more and more people that they say, my kid can come back and be anything that they want to be, but if they come back a Republican, I'm going to disown them. Like, you should have probably not had kids. You sound like a child yourself. And if you're doing it for clout or humor, just a jackass. But as far as that goes, look, let's just make it simple. If an organization doesn't want to do something in a specific state because the way the state is doing something, fine, go there. But if you suffer for that by not getting the admittance that you're looking for at that game, or to get the viewership that you're looking for, we're in capitalism, baby. If you go crying to the federal government, we can't make it, pay us money. Well, fuck you. I don't want my money going there. I'm getting really kind of tired of my money that I pay in taxes going to things that I don't approve of. It's not quite taxation without representation. It's representation that I don't agree with. And it looks like there's more and more and more of that. So we can grab some Coca-Cola, head on down to the harbor, have ourselves a good old-fashioned modern day 2021 tea party. We'll just make it a Coca-Cola woke party. Just for the fuck of it, Diet Coke. All right. Yeah, as far as all that goes, man, if you can't get a license, go to the DMV, get an ID. If we can't travel around the country by this new administration's bullshit position, then why the hell Why are we making it such a problem about people having a photo ID? All right. So we can get away from this stupid hedonism of a conversation piece. And again, it's not stupid by us. It's stupid at the fact that we even have to have it. I don't want to leave Georgia just yet, though. But
Yeah,
I want to
me
make sure
too.
that we finished up this piece of this conversation before we move on to the next.
Somewhat. I kind of want to get into a little bit of something.
All right, my man, let's do it.
So also, there's going to be no more drop boxes, or at least if there are drop boxes, it's going to be designated times, designated locations where those drop boxes can be, and they're going to be observed again by a bipartisan, non-party affiliated member of that administration. So also, some of the stuff that's kind of been grinding my gears, so to speak, is that this constant, Chad and I have talked about it before, that they're always trying to get an emotional response out of people, right? We want to make you emotional about not getting water in line. And I keep hearing, which is another topic that we're going to get into, I keep hearing that the correlation being made between Jim Crow laws and this current new voting law. And that makes me so mad because, in my opinion, the people who actually went through real Jim Crow laws should be like ashamed to hear that comparison, because it not getting water in line, okay, is not the same as a Jim Crow law. So I got some Jim Crow laws for you so you can see if it's the same of not getting water in line, okay? Number one, in most states that had Jim Crow laws, no interracial marriages. Okay, so the love of your life is of a different ethnicity of you. You cannot marry her. Is that the same as not getting water in line? Okay, that's the first one, okay? White restaurants and black restaurants. So completely different restaurants based solely on your race, not who you are, completely ignorant, stupid. Is that the same as not getting water in line? No, it's not the same. I could go on. Obviously, you get what I'm going with this point. It's unfair that they try to compare, getting a free ID from the DMV to not being able to go to a certain school because of the color of your skin. And I feel like that just demeans the people who actually went through that shit and had to live through that shit. Because I know people who didn't go to school in interracial schools. They went to a school, either black school or white school. I know people, and yeah, they're appalled by this comparison too. By the way, so yeah.
What that's called is a false equivocation. Now, speaking of false equivocations, is anytime hyperbolic language is used to try to gain some sort of emotional position with the person that you're talking with or whoever you're wanting to influence, should be a flag for you immediately. Why are they trying to appeal to my emotions rather than my logic? So when you're in the rational mind, it's a little harder to persuade you, but it's a lot easier to persuade you when you're in that emotional state. So whenever they use things that are this hyperbolic type of comparison, they're going to come up with, oh my God, this is Jim Crow equivalent. No, it's not. No, it's not. What happens whenever you make comparisons like that is you dilute the value of what those people actually went through in their life. As Joshua was saying, this is something that I really hope that people take away from this. Whenever I hear this, my form of communication is I will argue for understanding, not arguing for the opportunity to win. I'm looking to understand. So the way that I do it, if you make a claim, I'm going to ask for evidence about that claim. I'm also going to break down the linguistics of it. Based off of what you just said, this is what you meant. There was the conversation about the siege on January 6th. That was not a siege. That is hyperbolic language used to emotionally manipulate you that the media used. The insurrection, that actually was not an insurrection based off definition. But the media wanted to use as much hyperbolic language as possible so that they can try to sensationalize the moment and mislead the witnesses. And that's what we were, witnesses of the event. Unless you were there, then you were a participant of the event. With all that being said, when they make that comparison to Jim Crow laws, they're wanting to emotionally transport you back into a timeline when this country was truly had a racist value that was supported. That's all they're doing. They're trying to take you emotionally from here and move you there so that you will react with the idea that it's a current day atrocity. So I want to touch on another one that's not necessarily right here, but we've heard it a lot. Redlining. The idea of redlining. Redlining no longer exists. And if it does exist, that puts whoever did redlining in a significant legal issue that could end up revoking their license and or make them liable to significant lawsuits. So with that, if you're not familiar with redlining is where they would actually mark off areas that people of color were not allowed to purchase homes in, regardless of their standing, credit worthiness, things like that. That's a very illegal act, and it has been illegal for a while now. It no longer exists, just like Jim Crow doesn't exist anymore. Doesn't mean that there's not values inside of society that has to do with, you know what, this is the way that this particular state, is because of the history of the citizenship, but it doesn't mean that it's still racist. We've done a lot to get away from that. So that being said, there's a lot of this shit that is absolutely just, it's emotional clutter. And when you tune into the news and they give you those emotionally hyperbolic statements, it clutters up your emotional state. And then most people that I've experienced like that are fatigued emotionally very quickly. They cannot hold a long-term rational conversation. They get very reactive, and then you can't really go very far with them from that point. So with that being said, I am not going to continue to hold center stage when we got quite a bit to talk about, and we've got people popping on, popping off, enjoying our content and my dastardly good looks.
Since we're kind of still somewhat fresh on the topic of sports, let's talk about kind of another little, I guess you could say, discrepancy that I've been seeing, and it's the comparison mainly to female sports and male sports. Now, whether or not I agree with this or whether or not I think it's right, there's a reason why women's sports make less money than men's sports. And the reason why I said this is because I came across this meme, and it was a picture of, I guess, one of the best WNBA players, her yearly salary, her bonuses, her achievements, the things she's achieved in the WNBA. And it was right next to LeBron James. And it was then, again, his salary, his bonuses, his achievements. And, basically what it said is, this doesn't make sense, right? Obviously, LeBron was making way more money than she was, and that this is a travesty, and that, females deserve equal pay, which they do. But so I did a little digging on the differences in particular. Now, this isn't just basketball. This has been talked about in tennis for a long time, which I kind of have the same standpoint on, which we could probably get into. But, a lot of different discrepancies as far as male sports and female sports. So one, the NBA plays 1,204 games in the regular season. Okay. So, that's a lot of games. And the WNBA plays 204. So if I worked 1,000 more hours than you did, right, should you get paid the same amount as me? Now you say, oh, Josh, that's not fair. And it's not fair because obviously the NBA gets a lot more viewership than the WNBA. And that kind of plays a role as far as funding goes. Viewership equals money. So the WNBA makes less money than the NBA does. But nonetheless, it's still just that's why, and I don't know why, people like to, watch male sports more than female sports. I don't think that's always the case. I personally like to watch female soccer a lot more than I like to watch male soccer because I think they're better at it. But I think if our female soccer team played the male soccer team, I think the female team would win, to be honest. But yeah, so
I'd like to actually see that. I'd like to see that.
Right?
That would be a match.
They really would, because those girls are.
I'd even watch that. But yeah,
those girls are crazy.
I want to add something into the pay gap bullshit. I'm sorry, the pay gap conversation. People that don't understand basic economics and do not look for detail values are going to easily buy into that. So we have the NBA versus the WNBA. Joshua just talked about here. The WNBA plays a significantly, the NBA plays a significant amount more of games than the WNBA. So their workload is lower. Now, basic economics. How does the NBA come up with the money that they come up with? They have ticket sales, they have merchandise sales, they have pay-per-view, they have a lot of things that people pay for that surround the game. With that, the exact same opportunity is presented in the WNBA. Now, I do want to talk about one that I researched over the week. I know, Joshua, easy fella. I did a little bit of research on myself instead of
Hey,
just being
Chad's
that
jumping
guy.
in there.
You know? So, women's soccer. Yes. Oh, Megan. Oh, Megan. So, turns out they consistently say that women's soccer makes significantly less money than men's soccer. Little does does anybody know, the women's soccer league was offered the identical deal as the men's soccer league, and they turned it down because they would have to lose the benefits that is being provided by the soccer league. So
And
they
you're
do
talking
get
about the United States Soccer League, right? Like as in our national team? Okay.
yes, they get maternity leave. Men don't get that. They have a guarantee pay for games, regardless if they play or not. Um, the reason why they make less money from the soccer league is because they actually have the deal they brokered, they agreed to. They thought the terms were perfectly fine. The associations, so the men's soccer league has associations that pay for certain benefits, health insurance, things like that. Women's soccer league have the soccer league itself pay those benefits. There's a big value in that. They have guarantee money and the men do not. They didn't want the deal the men have. They wanted to make more than the men, not equal to, but more. And they thought the deal was going to give them that opportunity. When they found out the deal did not give them that opportunity because the bonuses that the men have brokered by the sheer risk of playing, and if you don't play, you don't get paid. They ran that risk, so they didn't want to take it. So when Megan gets up there and starts her little rah, 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 and those trophies, of which I have many, so fucking what? There's a lot of soccer people in general, just athletes that have a lot of soccer, or a lot of trophies. Grow up. You're just buying into this wave of wokeness to hope that you get a little bit more money out of it. Trying to defame the men, and all you're doing is you're just tarnishing the sport. Now, soccer, said what I need to say about that. I'll probably have a Tourette's moment later on where I throw something out. But when it comes to tennis, Joshua, which one do you feel is more of a popular sport, men's tennis or women's tennis?
Well, definitely men's. And, one of my biggest arguments is why male tennis players make more than female tennis players. It goes back to the same thing as the NBA. Men play the best of 5 sets and females play the best of 3 sets. There's men in the men's league that have had like games that are like 2 days long. I'm not kidding. Like 16-hour sessions, like insanity, versus like a 3-set match. You could be done in 40 minutes sometimes, So again, like we said, the workload, it's in one. Again, there's the Serena sisters, or the Serena sisters.
The Williams
sisters, yes. The Williams sisters. There was, Anna Kournikova. God, I'm so glad. I quit. I had to quit watching, Chad. I just couldn't do it anymore. There's Maria Sharapova. Again, Maria Sharapova is no longer there either. So I need to revamp on my female tennis. But, again, the males tennis just have, I feel like, a lot better competition. There's longer matches, if we can make the debate or, the almost fact that, males will perform at a higher level than females will, just genetically.
It's not a debate. I'll get into some of the statistics in a second.
Yeah, exactly.
So when it comes to this, tennis is a point scored system type game, like most of them that we appreciate. Joshua, do you know the rankings and where the number one female player on the planet that's ranked versus the men's? Do you know where she falls in that list?
You mean as far as like points scored, total? So like, let's say who's number one now? Is it still Djokovic is still number one? I think he is. I haven't watched tennis in a while. I was a big Roger Federer fan, and now that he's kind of getting a little bit older, I don't watch it too much. I only really watch it when he's kind of in the heat of things. So is this all time or is this like current rankings?
Just it's all time rankings so far. Where the number one woman versus number one are the rankings in men where she would be interjected.
So I know
number 1, number 2, number 3. Where would you put her?
So as comparison, I know that Roger Federer is probably the number one as far as points scored by men. And knowing how amazing he is, let's say if he's one on point scoring, what would be the number one women as far as like comparison to his ranking? Put her like 20.
Okay, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Number one female tennis player ranks at 300th.
Wow.
For men. So with men, you have to be at 299. You were ranked at a higher score than the number one women's tennis player. That's also one of the reasons why the sport is so incredibly tough, because once you get to that point, you have to climb that far, far ladder in order to even get to the point where you have recognition. The Serena sisters, God damn it, you made me do it. The Williams sisters, Venus and Serena Williams, they were extremely great players. I am not diminishing the value of these players. Absolutely. I'm giving you the stats on it. So number one woman places at the 300th for men's. So if it were that, not a lot of people would even watch it. So separate them and create their own leagues. So, and then to go back to basketball for a second, did you know that the WNBA players can play in the NBA?
Yeah,
I think I mentioned that in a previous episode.
Yeah.
You can play in the NBA. They made the league so that they could go and play in their own, so that they have a ranking system and actually get on teams. Unfortunately, I'm not saying that women aren't good enough to get on teams. When you get into those professional sports, they want the top athlete. They don't give a damn what gender that athlete is. They just want the top competitive athlete. Give me the best. Oh, do you imagine if this bullshit was going on in the gladiators times?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I love female sports. Like I'm a really big female sports fan. Like there's no doubt in my mind that there's like some female basketball player out there that could go in there and tear it up in the NBA. Now, would she be like the lead scorer in the league? Probably not. Maybe, but the chances are probably not, you know? And like Chad said, it's not the fact that we don't think that females can compete. We just think that if they so choose to compete against other females, they should by all means have that right. So like Ronda Rousey, I'm a big Ronda Rousey fan.
I love Ronda Rousey. She's awesome.
Yeah, freaking awesome.
As a person too, not even just an athlete. She's badass.
Now, but what if there was a case where there was Ronda Rousey versus Francis Ngannou? Now, if you're a UFC fan, you know who Francis Ngannou is, and it just doesn't make sense, right? That's why we have different genders, and that's why we have different levels or sections of competition. So
same thing. Yeah. If you were to add Fallon Fox against Ronda Rousey, Ronda Rousey didn't stand a chance.
I think Ronda,
not against Fallon Fox.
We're talking about the trans guy, right?
Yes.
I think Ronda will whoop his ass.
I don't, man. No? I don't.
Ronda will whoop his ass.
Yeah, I want Ronda to get its ass. I want that to happen because Fallon Fox is a fucking asshole.
You know what they should do? Who's number one? I'm going to look up the number one female ranked fighter in the UFC and what weight they are. If I was the UFC, I would put him against the best female and just let that female beat his ass, What is the true competition? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm not certain who that person would be. And I don't want to spend too much time on this because we do have a ticking timeline for the Facebook Live side of things. So, and let's get through some of these other things because Papa Bear's got a pool and a hot tub. He's got to go play in before it gets too dark. All right. So anything else you want to touch on with those subjects? Guys, gals, all y'all pool patriots out there and all of that. Just to make sure that this declaration's out there because apparently everything deserves a disclaimer now, or you need to throw one out so that you don't get canceled because we got a bunch of pussies behind the fucking keyboards. I'm not sexist at all. I absolutely love women. And I also adore anything anybody excels at. I love when I see people excelling at things. especially the virtuous things, not necessarily the vice-driven things. I love it. I love to see the top of the top. It's always nice to see what the human body is capable of, what human beings are capable of. So when it comes to this, what we have is we sit in a place where we're statically charged. Excuse me. I got my little space dust kicking up some dust over here. Right. I really like to see the total of human capacity show up. So when it comes to that, we're just, Joshua and I said in this, and a lot of you probably are also there too. Tell us how you feel. Don't hold back, Chad. Will do, Anna. All right. So with that, it's more of like we sit here and we have this. We have people telling us who we're supposed to hate. We have people telling us how we're supposed to see the world, no matter how we've experienced the world, that we're told that we're seeing it the wrong way, that we're wrong if we don't agree. And not only are we wrong if we don't agree, we'll have our jobs threatened if we speak out about it. We'll have the potential of being alienated from our friends and family. We have all of these things going on because people don't even know how to have a conflict in communication. They just have you know what? You're wrong. I'm crossing my arms. And if I get mad enough, I'll find out where you work and I'm going to try to get you fired. I'm going to tell other people they should be upset by it. I'm going to take a screenshot of the conversation we have and I'm going to try to prove to the world how wrong you are by getting you involved in it. No attack there, by the way, Joshua. That was data mining that we were doing earlier. It was more for research purposes. But when people go to Facebook and they throw out, or any of their social media, I screenshotted this and look at how ridiculous this person is and they're stupid and they're silly and all of this. I'm going to read it. And if I do read it and I don't see that you have a logical position, but you're shooting for the emotional win, and you're not getting credit with me. If anything, I'm probably going to give you a little sidebar conversation and say, you're defaming somebody else because you're not emotionally capable of dealing with losing an argument. Oh, grow up. So hashtag grow up. That should be the cure to the cancel culture. And a nice little injection of 500 cc's of grow up. So anyway, I'm going to get off that rant. Space dust got me in some kind of way. And I'm really just, this week, I'm kind of exhausted, man. We've gone through so much this week. We got bumbling freaking absent man telling us that he's going to take away our AR pony face, dog face pony soldiers and whatever else the hell he's going to try to take away from us. And the thing, just absolute pure ignorance of this fucking administration. So I don't want to go on and on and on and on. So anyway, all right, Joshua, what else you got on this, man? I'm actually feeling some kind of way and tired. Just got that tired blood today. It's that tired blood, Daddy.
I don't know. Should we tease Facebook? I think we should tease Facebook a little bit.
What? I'll feather tease Facebook.
Right.
A little bit of action. You have to come on over to the. Come on. I'm gonna cut it off right
there. Talking about Biden absent, man. So this whole gun thing is, with the new executive orders coming out with these, gun control laws, or trying to control the epidemic. Geez, the epidemic that is, gun violence in the United States.
Bullshit. Sorry, something in my throat. I know what it was. Our Second Amendment got caught up in my throat.
And I'll get to that. Some of the stuff that he says just it blows my mind. Like he stated that there's nothing in the Second Amendment that says that owning guns is an absolute. And I'm just paraphrasing there, but it was definitely along those lines. And I was like, dude, how long have you worked in politics? You've been there for 50 something years. How have you never heard of the District of Columbia versus Heller in 2008? What explicitly stated that the Second Amendment protects the individual's rights to keep and bear arms, not just militias. So yes, that is an absolute right for the individuals in the United States to keep and bear arms. And now, if you're, talking about that, some people are excluded from owning firearms because either criminal record, the many things that do exclude you, right? Then you're absolutely correct, Biden. But as far as you trying to state that, you've never been allowed to own guns, which I've heard him say before on video, you're wrong. And it kind of blows my mind that we have the president of the United States getting his shit wrong when it comes to the stuff that he should know.
Yeah. You ready for something fucking insane?
Mm-hmm.
We've actually had the ability to own fully automatic weapons. If you go back far enough, there was a gun called the volley gun, and it was an automatic. It's a crank style. Oh,
Gatling gun.
Yeah, very similar to that type thing. So for him to say that we weren't allowed to, we did go through some timelines where there was a little bit more prohibition, but it wasn't an absolute like an erasing or the denial that the citizens were not allowed to have their firearms. We have been allowed to have our firearms for multiple reasons. A lot of that has to do with how we're even in the United States in the first place. Why do countries not want to invade us? Because there's more than one military. There's the original military, which is the enlisted individuals. Then there's the militia level, which is the citizenship that are firearm ready. Yeah, we're not an easy country to conquer in that way. Boots on the ground is not a very well. If you leave it up to the Biden administration, they'll force feed us all soy and expect us to start wearing sports bras so that we can get ready to have China smacking us on the back end. No, so leave it up to this fucking ridiculous administration. So yes, we have had firearms involved for a very long time, and yes, look up the volley gun. Now, all right, Joshua, please continue. I had to throw that in there because it's always nice when you find out a little bit more about history. They just don't want to teach you.
Yeah, I mean, and there's some parts of this new or these new attempts and legislative change, because again, none of these have passed. So if they're still waiting on Senate approval, which is probably not going to happen. But you know, a 60-day regulation on what's called an arm brace. So an arm brace is kind of like, it's a device that you can hook up a handgun to and almost like brace your arm in place in a way, so you're able to like keep it concealed, but at the same time you can use it to it helps the firearm be more stable while shooting, so ultimately it makes it accurate. So basically a 60-day waiting period for you to receive one of those, which I don't got no problem with, because most people who are buying this stuff, again, are just using it either recreationally or, you know, appropriately. So it's, you know, stuff like that is stuff they throw in there, you know, to entice the idea that, okay, you know, this gun control law is okay, but the problem is the slippery slope fashion that this stuff can be. And not everything that they put in these laws are going to be bad, but what do they ultimately lead to down the road is kind of the concern. Like, for example, the Trump administration, they after the Las Vegas shooting, they, you know, regulated or put legislature on bump stocks, which is like if you have like a you know, a semi-automatic rifle, a bump stock is a device where you can put on the back of the gun that ultimately loses the recoil of the weapon to turn a semi-auto into a full auto. So they you know, made those illegal, which, yeah, I mean, nothing wrong with that. Makes sense. If you're using it properly, that shouldn't really be a concern. But yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Something to consider whenever it comes to the gun laws, and just keep this in mind. How many times you have to have people that are just a little bit more libertarian about things tell you drugs have been illegal for a long time. They get into the country. I live in a town where if I really wanted to, I could go off and buy narcotics. It not that hard, right? They just go down the street. I don't use drugs, so not really my thing. But I do know that there are people in this area that do. And it's pretty easy for them to get their hands on it. We outlaw guns, which is one of the things that will end up happening with this, as they continue to push these gun law measures. They're going to eventually end up turning legal gun owners into felons, because there's a lot of us that aren't going to give up our firearms. I mean, I lost mine in a boating accident. It was crazy. But because the government can just suck it. But when it comes to that, it's like, look, we want to continue to hold that level of that second level of military, which is a militia level. We still want our citizens to be able to defend our land if need be, and we're ever invaded or a tyrannical government. Biden, come on. I'm sorry if that wasn't really clear. I just said Biden and Kamala in a joking way, but to me, they are a bit tyrannical. And mark my words, there's going to be a little bit of a thing here where Biden pushes as far as he possibly can. And then they're going to have Kamala invoke the 26th Amendment, remove his happy ass. She's going to be the savior, and they're going to try to secure a second term for her. That's my prediction. Anyway, all right. So war on drugs. We eradicated that. We're going to get legal firearms out of the hands of legal gun owners. And we're going to have criminals going, I can go wherever the hell I want. It emboldens people because then they realize that if you were to fight back, they could sue you because you did an illegal act. We have seen horrible lawsuits where we've had burglars fall through a moon roof in a kitchen, land on a knife, which happened back, I think it was 94, 95, land on a knife, turn around, sue the homeowner, and won. That didn't tell you something. So whenever it comes to this, if we are no longer allowed to legally hold or keep firearms, then there's a pretty good chance that that'll be one more thing that not only be a deterrent for us to actually use them to protect ourselves, but if we do, likely that we're going to be punished for protecting ourselves. Because let's face it, criminals don't care. And if you're stupid enough to think that you're going to take somebody who's breaking into your house, attempting a home invasion, or whatever the hell they're trying to do, sit them down, have a cup of tea, and straighten out their life, take your happy ass to prison. Start your little thing there, and then start bringing these people from prison that have been rehabilitated by the state's levels of rehabilitation standards. Bring them back to your home, see how well you do running a halfway house, and see if you're really effective there before you start telling people like myself and many other legal firearm owners, although again, RIP to mine, boating accident. Shut the fuck up. Do something different. Stop trying to tell everybody else hypothetically how they should do their life because you feel like you're intellectually superior. You're not. You are in a fantasy world that you think you're superior, but you are just a jackass to me, and you're not going to hold any value. And by God, I'm going to make sure that people know that I disagree with you. So with that, let me just turn it back over to Joshua because he's damn near in a nap at the moment, and we got to wake him back up. We got a bit more of the episode to go.
Yeah, so it's always the mechanism that normally gets involved or gets blamed. In this case, guns always gets the blame. Where Chad and I have talked about before, it really falls back to me on mental illness. Now, let's think about the society that we live in and how that could psychologically, push someone in a certain direction. Maybe in this case, a more psychotic, rampage that is mass shootings that we've been dealing with. And let's think of some factors that ultimately led us to that to this current predicament that we're in. And to me, it's pretty easy to see some reasons to why that we are where we are. Polarization in politics that we've talked about all the time. We live in this super transparent world where especially with the media kind of lighting the fire, so to speak, and keeping it lit as far as racism and Republicans bad and all the constant things we hear from the media about just lighting the fire between individuals and separating the United States, definitely in a political ideology perspective, but also just look at our the rise in pornography. I mean, no one ever talks about pornography because, to be honest with you, the media makes it so normalized with our pop stars that are pretty much like sex icons. I mean, the #1 song in the United States is "Wet Ass Pussy." It's yeah.
Joshua. Oh my God! I thought you were going to say WAP.
Wow.
Oh, you said it. You said the whole damn thing. Hey, oh my God! I feel like I just witnessed a crime.
Right? It's a female reproductive part. I'm not afraid. That's this is the 21st century.
I'm into that kind of sport.
Yeah, but it's ridiculous. I mean, let's say what that's the name, right? That's the name of the song. I should be able to repeat it. If we needed to make an acronym and refer to it as an acronym all the time, it was probably a bad name to begin with. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and say the name of the song. Sue Me, right? That's, sue Cardi B. She's the one who made it. The rise in violent video games. It's the list goes on, Chad.
Yeah. Well, if anything, also just remember, WAP is absolutely acceptable, can be broadcast on television. Our kids can see it. We have a former first lady that says that Cardi B is a great icon, that is young girls can look up to her. She admitted that she drugged men in order to rob them and sometimes take advantage of them in other ways, and cried about how most people don't understand how hard it is to get by coming from somebody who is a multimillionaire that gets paid for singing horrible songs to influence kids. But let's not ever let somebody catch their kid reading Dr. Seuss. Oh, the horrible atrocity of stereotypical caricatures of people's or racial backgrounds. But let's make sure we've got some, gentlemen performing doggy style sex on the devil while performing a video or performing. What the hell did he do that on?
Like that. I saw like
yeah.
a clip of it.
But this is what we could actually look forward to. So let's send our kids off to college. Let's let them indoctrinate them into some bullshit ideology. Send back the kids to the family so that they've got strangers in the house. We'll let them, at 6, 7 years old, learn to twerk and, do other gestures that typically you see, thirsty women in the nightclub doing, and, have, drag queen story hour, teaching kids how to twerk as well. Elementary kids. I believe the group that I was watching was a second or third grade. I think it was maybe second grade. But that's all acceptable. But if that Dr. Seuss shows one more of those fucking fish, whew, one fish, two fish, you're racist fish, get the fuck out of here. We've got idiots running the asylum. We've lost our way as a nation by allowing this to get to where it is. So we're going to chastise. When's Mr. Rogers going down? Do we need to do a death poll on him or death poll on him? When are we going to lose Mr. Rogers?
Right. So, and just to tie it back to, if you're asking yourself, Josh, what does this have to do with gun violence? All that plays a role psychologically to people. If you look at most either serial killers, if you look at a lot of mass shooting incidents, most recently this one in Atlanta, it was sex driven, right? Remember the one in Atlanta, he said that those were places of temptation for him. So sex and that pleasure, that dopamine you get hit with when you watch pornography or you watch some of these risque, music videos, that plays a role on your psyche. And, there's been multiple incidences over history how, sexual, desires and this like psychosis are very, very, very linked. Went to Jeffrey Dahmer. I mean, the list goes on, right? So all that plays a role. What we see is ultimately what we become. I mean, listen to some of the songs that play on the radio that talk about, shooting cops and, just it's the more you hear, the more you become what you hear.
Yeah. And also, like, when you sit there and listen to something like that, if you perform that crime, it's to some of these individuals see it as if they're actually going to be glorified for it. They're going to go down in infamy, but it will transition into fame. It's just this horrible position. Let's not forget, though, there is like very recent individuals. We have the white supremacist in Colorado, Muhammad, the individual that was a Nation of Islam, I believe, or no, I don't believe I'm right on that. He is Islamic. He said that the reason why he went into the, by the way, I'm being facetious when I say that he's a white supremacist. That was actually the way the media reported it until they found out that he actually wasn't, because the media is the enemy. It's one of your enemies, mainstream anyway. I think they also call it legacy media. So we've got right out of the chute, before any real details were released other than the basic, mile high view details, was that he was a white supremacist Trump supporter. And then it turns out that he's actually he's Islamic. And the reason why he committed that crime where he killed 9 people in a supermarket and like a police officer and 8 other people was because of the rise in Islamic hate crimes in the United States. So what does he do? He goes out and does exactly what has been outlined that falls into the category of what he considers to be a misunderstanding of Islamic people. So we're the Muslim people. With that, that will tell you there's something to the psychology of it. It's not the surface that you hear, it's what's under the surface. This person was in a position that he felt he was defending his religion, and he felt that his religion was misunderstood significantly. That kept people from really understanding, grasping the life, the plight of people that are of the Muslim people. So he went out and killed people because he felt that way. Where was he hearing that people were Islamic or Islamophobic? When you have jackasses like Ben Affleck, who is, what is it? Ben Affleck. Whatever. He's a jackass anyway. I liked him in certain things like Good Will Hunting, awesome job. And ever since then, he's been hitting the leftist pipe. So yeah, you get him on there and telling people they're Islamic phobic whenever they actually talk about statistics and stats. And he starts telling people in that direction that they're Islamophobic. You get people that fall into that. We've kind of moved away from that whole thing because we have other things that we really want to just sensationalize since then. We want to get into the gender sensationalism and the transgender issues and the LGBTQ plus. I'm going to get in trouble because I didn't remember all of them. And apparently that makes me phobic to whoever I forgot. So, we're not in a society where you can actually just be yourself. This is what George Orwell was talking about whenever he wrote 1984 and thought crime. We are being influenced to believe that if we think a certain way, we're thinking in a criminal way. It's against society's rules, things like that. We're the problem, not the one issues that are going on in society. That's what happens whenever you slip further and further towards socialism and communism. That's what George Orwell wrote. The fiction 1984 that is slowly becoming nonfiction. So, Joshua, I'm going to turn it back over to you, buddy, because I'm so good at just ranting my little happy ass off. So, Colorado shooter, not a white supremacist, not a Trump supporter. He was a never Trumper. And guess what? He wasn't the white supremacist either. So legacy media is the problem. They're the cancer. Eradicating ignorance is the cure to the bullshit. So, by the way, if you're in an argument or a disagreement with somebody or just a conversation with somebody and you start recognizing things like if they reference January 6th as a siege, they were educated by the media. They were not educated by actually looking into it. They were educated by the media because by definition, it was not a siege. Nothing was taken and held. There was no resources that were denied to the location. None of that. It's not a siege. Look at the definition of some of these words. Also, it was not an insurrection. There you have it. Suck it. All right, moving on.
Definitions they go so far. So, the next one we have to get into, and I purposely picked this out. Chad doesn't know about this one. Now,
Oh,
Chad,
you bastard.
Yeah, doesn't know about this one. So, we always talk about in the show how we really want to be as bipartisan as possible. Now, obviously, we're going to have our own individual views and our own opinions on things, and that's going to show, in our content. But we also like to call bullshit when we see bullshit, and no matter what party you're in, if we see some misconduct, we want to address. So I'm going to talk about the Matt. How do you say his last name? Is it Gates? Gatz? I can't pronounce. I'm just horrible at pronunciation, people. So I apologize. What I'm talking about, right? The Florida House Representative member who's under investigation.
Oh, yes. All right.
Say his last name. I suck at.
All right, hold on. 1 second. All right. With this Facebook family, we love the hell out of you. This is a really good subject, but we do have to break from Facebook Live. So check out the channel, Rumble, YouTube, jump over there. Subscribe, hit the bell notification, share, comment. The email for comments and or direct communication for many other reasons will be up soon. But we do have to drop off Facebook Live. Thank you so much, fam, for joining us. But again, jump over there. Again, this is Titter Chat for brochures. And I'm with your Patriot, Joshua McClendon, and my Kraken. All right. See you on the other side. And we're back, motherfuckers. All right. So, Matt Gaetz, a representative, right?
We figured it out, ladies and gentlemen. His last name is Matt Gaetz. Me and Chad are absolutely horrible pronunciers, or however you say it, but we figured it out, Matt Gaetz. So he's a House of Representative member for the state of Florida, which kind of pissed me off. But he's under the allegations or under investigation of alleged sexual activity with a 17-year-old in 2019. I wanted to do a little bit of digging on this for the very reason, like I said before we left Facebook Live, that I want to make sure that Chad and I stay bipartisan and we pick out some stuff that kind of looks like it needs to be addressed and someone did something they shouldn't have done, no matter what political party you represent. So in this case, he is a Republican, right? So this could be some sexual trafficking that could be, that go into this as well. Just not, having sexual intercourse with a 17-year-old who is a minor, but also the fact that there was payment, there was state line crossing in these allegations that makes it a sex trafficking crime. So I wanted to do a little bit of digging on this guy. Haven't really heard too much about him other than this particular incident. So, to go through the whole story, he was kind of linked to a Seminole County tax collector by the name of Joel Greenberg. And I guess this guy was already caught doing this same event, and because he had, I guess, Cash App or some kind of mobile payment receipt showing to this 17-year-old individual. And I guess there was some other evidence in that case. So he was kind of linked into this case, so to speak. It's like I said, there's still allegations. I'm very big on innocent and proven guilty and no matter what, but this guy's track record ain't too great. So before I maybe get into that, Chad, what do you think initially just been hearing this? Have you heard anything about this before?
What I've heard about it was really, it's a weird situation. Like, so here's a way that people will do things. They will hear one thing and they're like, well, that's kind of fucked up. And then they hear another thing that's like, wow, that's really fucked up. So with this situation, you got him where he's been accused of sex trafficking a 17-year-old. There's so much more to this than that, right? That's already a situation that nobody wants to be in, right? You could be in a situation where the person lies to you and tells you they're 19 or 20 years old. You look at a fake ID and you're like, checks out, good enough for me. Or, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, you could be 20 and not really investigate it. It's on you for not looking into it. I'm a 41-year-old man. I've been hit on by young women. I still hold myself to the responsibility of looking into it. So, I'm not a bad-looking guy. I'm kind of like that depressed dime store version of Hugh Jackman. If he gave up on life and really just went through a major depression, then yeah, maybe I'd kind of sit there. Or the dude Tom from The Blacklist,
right? Owns a bookstore or something,
What's that?
Owns a bookstore or something like that.
Oh yes! Oh, that creepy. All right, so was that the same guy?
I don't know. It might be. That's just what I thought.
Show
you put it into my psyche, and I was trying to think if there was a position other than what I'd known you, what would you be? And I thought bookstore owner for some reason.
There was a show on one of those, actually the one that I discontinued, so I'm not even going to bother giving a free fucking advertisement. But there's a show called You.
Oh, dude, maybe that's where, because I'm obsessed with that show. That's what it is.
And it's a bookstore, and maybe I look like, I don't know. Anyway, all right, that's all the distraction. All right, so here's the situation, right? So they made the allegation. This allegation's been made. This guy went on Tucker Carlson.
That's right.
In case you're not aware, Tucker Carlson is the most popular, highest rating, I think he's the most paid too. of the talk show, or not a talk show. He's not even a reporter, but he does reporting.
That's what
What the hell is he doing?
Anchor. Like
yeah, but he's on Fox, and even though it's Fox and it's not like all the other ones, all the left columns, which by the way, to me, Fox is just like a mutated version of a left wing, news source. But that's me. You don't have to agree with me. You can probably tell me I'm a jackass. That's okay. I don't really care what you think. I do, but whatever. You're not in this conversation right now, so shut up. All right, so you have this accusation that was made, and then there's this other thing, this other allegation. This is his allegation that someone's trying to extort him. Now, were you going to get into this, Joshua?
I'm going to get into a little bit about him to kind of maybe paint a little bit different picture.
Now, all right, so let's do that. Then we'll come back and we'll talk about the extortion attempt.
So I did some digging as far as like this guy's character, because obviously, like I said, I really don't know much about him. So what I did find is that he's kind of been followed by this kind of stuff in the past. He is his rap sheet's kind of long. So he was, at one point he was arrested for a DUI. There are some other, instances where in this situation, he invited a known neo-Nazi to Trump's State of the Union address, and knowing that he was a Nazi. And I guess the guy that, I think I have his name written down here somewhere. It was Joseph something, but it was oh no, hold on. I got it. Charles C. Johnson. So I guess a very well-known member of the neo-Nazi organization. He invited him to the Trump State of the Union. And there were some other allegations as far as him asking Trump for a universal pardon before he left office. So there was his breadcrumb trail was kind of long. So like I said, guys, we want to make sure we're bipartisan. So just because he's a Republican doesn't mean that I'm just going to assume that this is, media propaganda or untrue. I want to make sure I have, like I said, I'm a born skeptic. So I want to make sure I know everything about the story. So, again, these are allegations. I am a big supporter of innocent until proven guilty, but I have to do a little digging, and this is what I found. So could these be allegations, be true? Absolutely, right? They could absolutely be true. I guess only time will tell.
Yeah. Well, I have the exact dollar amount. So the situation is this, and forgive us if we're off on some of the details, but overall, though, the situation is what it is. So, all right, he's been accused of this. There is an ex-DOJ employee. He's retired now. Who, according to Matt Gaetz, he was contacted by this individual who said that if he pays him $25 million, he has contacts that would make it all go away.
I saw that too.
Here's the thing. It sounds crazy. Sounds like a cover-up kind of thing, whatever, covers trails, whatever. If he did anything around with a 17-year-old, we need to hear out what he did. We need to actually hear innocent until proven guilty so we better understand the situation. If he was completely ignorant to her being 17, then that's something to be debated in court, or actually to be judged in court, not in the public arena. If she was 12, that'd be a different fucking story, right? But still, point is, I mean, it's easier to see if somebody's 12 than 17 by looking at them. It's not a guarantee. Some people look older than they are. Some people look younger than they are. But point being, it's easier to make the mistake as 17 to believe they're older. And again, like I said, you're going to want to do a little bit more checking, especially if you're a public figure coming from the means that this gentleman's coming from. So I was unaware of the stuff that he did with Trump and bringing a known neo-Nazi and stuff like that to that, and then asking for a universal pardon. It is very odd. Now, but then again, he may have been aware of the situation that was going on at that time that this individual was trying to extort him for $25 million. Now, here's the way that this thing's worked out, though. When that came up, the individual that was involved referred and started to try to just really get him for sex trafficking, and had the FBI start to speak up saying that they're investigating him for the sex crime. So they had made mention of the $25 million extortion, but they focused more on the sex trafficking than the extortion. So with them making mention of it, kind of prove it, that adds validity that some things there. Doesn't mean it's true yet. There could be reasons for them mentioning it. They're investigating. Nothing's found just yet. Nothing's found in any of it. Well, let's put it this way: we are nonpartisan a lot of the times. We don't want to be on either side. I don't want to be on either side. I'm on the side of the Constitution. I'm on the side of the American people, which is represented by multiple different parties. So with that, if this guy's a scumbag, we do need it to be found out. Not like this whole Hunter Biden thing, but anyway, my dad is the president, so I can do whatever I want and get away with what I want to do. And if you try to say something, I'll just make a book and talk shit about you.
It's true. It's a good comparison though, because like as we just put a Republican kind of under the spotlight, under this criticism, and we want to see what happens from this event. Why haven't we heard anything about the Hunter Biden situation? That we know the FBI found, credible information linking him to these claims. So with that being said, we got to make sure that we do our due diligence and pursue everything that was, needs to be addressed in our society, not just based on whatever political party you follow. And also, I think it's up to the media's job to make sure that they cover things on an equal basis, not just based on whether it's Republican or Democrat. We need to see all the shit that's going on, right? I want to see everything from every angle. Again, crypto, baby, Ethereum, that's what it's all about. I want to know the right information. I just don't want to hear opinions. I want to hear right, correct information that everybody has access to, so we can end this debate on, oh, this is conspiracy, this is not, because they created this bullshit storm that we live in now.
Mm-hmm. Well, deciphering it, getting out of it. So here's my little tips and tricks on how to get out of it. By the way, I did not take you for a White Claw man. So do you drink the what is that, Monster Energy drink and spend half your day on Saturday punching through drywall, listening to Kid Rock?
I did have a Monster today, but Kid Rock.
Look at that. Stereotyped you.
No, this is pretty good. This was an Easter drink right here. You go on the beach, have a few of these bad boys. It's fun.
Dude, I need to make a hat that's going to be the Joshua, your Patriot, Joshua McClendon, my Kraken. And then one side's going to have the White Claw can, and the other side's going to have the Monster Energy drink. It'll be the green one because you're no bitch ass with the blue one, right? Full flavor, give me the sugar, baby. Give me the sugar. And then behind it all would be the backdrop of some drywall with some fist punches through it. Yeah.
The problem is when it's free. So all the monsters I get, at where I work, we've been getting these free, drop offs of like energy drink samples. So if it's free, I'm not going to go and buy a Monster, but if it's 6:30 a.m. and I need me a little extra, let's make it happen. The Monster can be a go-to if the price is right, Chad.
It's not too bad of a go-to.
No.
All right. I don't really have a lot more to say about Matt Gaetz just yet. We don't know enough about the situation. So with that, I'm actually kind of good leaving it where it is, but we will report more on this or talk more about it as the days go on. But I do want to get a little bit further along. Do you have anything else you want to say about Matt Gaetz before we go to the next subject? Because I know unfortunately, we have a lot to go through, and I don't want to have this seem like it's rushed. I still have another major subject that I want to go over. But Joshua's got a bunch of them. So Joshua,
jump into it. If you want to jump into yours, I only have one more, which is something we kind of touched on, but it's kind of moving forward in its activity, I guess you could say. But if you got a big one, go ahead and throw it in there, man.
Well, it's not a big one with a lot to say. It's just a big one because it's like we're kind of watching this like we did the OJ trial. So back in the 90s. Oh, it's a good one to end the show on. So if you want to touch yours first, then we'll go to mine.
Yeah, sure. Just Chad and I have talked about before in the show how, the state of Florida, we really, as we live in the best state that is in the United States. And I love it.
This is what America should be.
Yeah, so thankful. I love my state so much. But, tourism is our main ways of bringing money into our state, right? Tourism. Now, a big part of tourism, especially in Florida, is cruise lines and the cruise industry, and that the date as far as to set sail for Norwegian, Carnival, Royal Caribbean, there's all good cruises that are down here.
has constantly been delayed due to COVID-19, and really without any ways around it. So they haven't really given cruise industries the chance to, do a capacity level. They haven't given, them a chance to, do, COVID vaccinations mandatory, since you are going into international waters. They haven't given them any chances to actually, make accommodations to the fact that they can make setting sail safe. All they've done is constantly delay and delay and delay. Now, for all my stock people out there, the cruise lines, a lot of their stock went way down. I mean, like 70% losses in some cases. And, they're barely hanging on. I mean, those boats are expensive. And, the space that they have in different countries as far as port goes is expensive, and they're hurting. And so now the state of Florida is suing the CDC for, improper, not allowing cruises to set sail.
Yeah, dude, I not only hope that we dig deep into that also we add a few more to that lawsuit. We go after Biden and his bullshit. Kamala, just because fuck her. No, I'm not really that maniacal against her or whatever. She's not innocent of all of this stuff. Fauci for his breaking of the Hippocratic Oath. There's a lot, man. We are a state, and I mentioned this before in a previous posting on my social medias. We are a state that is doing unbelievably well, given all the restrictions. We are a tourist-driven state. That's one of our major economic values, and we're still just doing amazing. We're making the states that lock down look really bad, that have other economic values other than tourism, making them look really bad.
And not even economics. In our vaccination distribution, as much as the left-wing media wants to say that Ron DeSantis has been screwing up, we've been doing amazing as far as vaccination distribution and the amount of people have been vaccinated in the state of Florida and the available amount of vaccinations and moving through age groups like nothing. So I don't want to hear it. Florida's rocking the house, okay? And if you don't like it, then why do I see Wisconsin and Michigan and New York and New Jersey license plates all the time whenever I drive around my home state? It's because everyone knows that we're rocking it. So don't let the media tell you wrong.
Yeah. You know what? I actually do have a little exclusive from one of the conferences where they were discussing Florida and how well, or what Florida's doing versus what their state's doing during the pandemic. Sorry, I almost mispronounced it there. Pandemic. So this is a lot. Bear with me. God, I really got to figure this shit out. All right, hold on. I'm coming at you, baby. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, because it just told me it wasn't able to hear me. Right.
Somebody woke up.
No, that's them.
Oh yeah, definitely. No crybabies. Yeah.
Oh, Florida, we're doing awesome.
Right? We really wait stage.
Heather, it's time for breakfast.
Right? Yeah, I mean our state really is freaking awesome. I mean it's fun.
Oh, there they are. There's Dimmies. Get that blue check mark. Oh, blue, baby. All right. So here's the case. All right. So what we're dealing with is Florida's doing awesome. DeSantis is a no joke, freaking real American representative. That man stands for this country. He just came out of nowhere. To me, like he just came out of nowhere. Where'd he come from? But he's like, that's it. He doesn't want the rest of America to come over to Florida and fuck Florida up, because Florida right now is America, right? Yeah. Texas is finally saying, shove it. We're doing our thing. Biden's letting people in, because of his rulings. at the gates, people tested positive. Well over 200 people tested positive with COVID. End of the state, go ahead, but we're going to make Texas look really bad. And Florida's like, we're going to sue the CDC. We're not only going to sue the CDC, we're also going to sue Biden and his administration. We're going to start suing motherfuckers around here. You know what? Ron DeSantis probably has Samuel L. Jackson sitting in the background just going, I'm tired of this shit. Now, I'm tired of this motherfucking COVID on this motherfucking state.
Right? Just gets them fired up. Yeah, he went to Dunedin High School. People don't understand. Like, Ron
What?
DeSantis is, he went to Dunedin High School. Like, he's a local boy. Like, I can't believe that I hear some people talk bad about Ron DeSantis. I mean, I've talked about several times on the show, as much as he's done for education, COVID, so many different things that he's done that's been amazing. And I've really seen very few things that I disagree with. So, the fact that finally we have someone who's standing up for not only our nation as far as, the ideology that is to be American and live the American dream, but the fact that we have someone in our own state that's actually putting our states or our state forward it's awesome. And I hear everyone say, oh, no, I wanted to run for president and this and that. Like, I wanted to run for president too, but I really don't at the same time. I want him to be our governor because that, our state really, state law and, state procedures affect us way more than the president does. So, I might be a little bit greedy, Chad, in 2024. We'll see.
Here's my question. Could you imagine if Andrew Gillum won governor when Ron DeSantis was running? For anybody who doesn't know who that is, he was the gentleman that was running against Ron DeSantis. And what was that, 2018? Yeah. So he was running against him. Ron DeSantis beat him by a very small margin. Within months, Andrew was caught in a hotel room high on, I believe it was methamphetamines, delirious, buck naked, and I'm pretty sure it was 2 male prostitutes that he was with that were all just having this drug-fueled sex thing, and they got into the point where they were afraid they overdosed and contacting people to come help them. So I promise you, if you live in the state of Florida and that gentleman would have won, the state would not be where it is right now. We would be locked down like California and whatever the hell we want to call New York, because New York is a goddamn cesspool. Oh, which, not to mention New York, but let's go ahead and mention it any damn way. New York is going to be giving, what is it? How many billions of dollars?
15K, right? 15K an individual.
Yeah, it's like $15,000 per illegal immigrant.
Mm-hmm.
That's in the state of New York. They're raising the rate, the taxes on the successful, which is going to make them move out of the state. And they're paying out money to people that are not American citizens, never paid a dime into the system. But they're going to pay them money, which, by the way, if you're not aware of this, a lot of the people that come over here that are not legal send their money back to where they come from to give to their families and or the agreement with whoever got them here. In a lot of instances, that was the cartel. So American money funneled through, sent over to the cartel, and then we're like, oh my God, the cartel, they beheaded somebody else? Oh my God. Yeah, your money went over there. Why? Because you're dumb enough not to research and to vote because you have a party affiliation instead of doing some research. So with that, am I saying the people that are all recipients of this $19,000 or $15,000, whatever it is, that it's up there? It is over 12 and under 30. We'll go with that.
I think it is 15.
Yeah. What we're doing is we're giving them money to help them get started. Remember, these people are typically, they're lower skilled individuals. This is not against them as a human being. This is about the sanctity of our country first, because if we're not healthy, we should not be helping people, other people become healthy when we're not healthy ourselves. It's like working in a working at the soup kitchen and you're giving out soup all day long. And as soon as you're ready to eat, somebody else steps up and goes, "Can I have a sandwich? I don't want the soup." And all you have is the sandwich. You give that to that person, and then you start scooping little ladles of soup out again to the next person. Before you know it, you've missed your meals, and then you become less and less healthy because you're not nourishing yourself. And before you know it, you're not doing well. You can't help the person in the soup kitchen. You need somebody else to take care of you. That's socialism. That's communism. That's the direction that a lot of these states are going. New York, run by an absolute idiot. And you know what? Let me take it back. I don't think he's an idiot. I think he has a different agenda than I do. I think he has more of a desire that he gets something bigger out of this than just being the governor and the salary he gets from that. That's why he would make these decisions, because mainstream media predominantly supports him. They moved away from the nursing home, deaths, moved it over to sexual inappropriate behavior and trying to string him up for that. And then all of a sudden it all disappears. Why are people so incredibly credulous that they won't hold their attention long enough to get somebody like that convicted of something they deserve to be convicted of, or at least deserve to be tried on so we can know the truth? But instead, we're going to let the media hold our courts, and we're going to let the assholes that direct the media put their little threats in. To me, the way it looks is Cuomo went against something they wanted. They let the media bring something out, or directed them to bring something out to make it a big deal, to flex on Cuomo, to get him back in line so that he gets where he's supposed to be. And they've got their boy back in check. All right, now the media will let it all go away. To me, that seems like a Hillary Clinton type thing. Am I saying she's responsible for it? Hell no, I don't think she's that person. I think she's part of it, but she's not that person. So, media matters, sucks ass. Yeah, that's the story.
It's very true, though. I mean, people forget, like, I've heard what he did as far as, moving people, elderly people that either they knew had COVID or didn't check had COVID into perfectly COVID-free nursing home facilities in New York, what ultimately led to the death of thousands of elderly people in these nursing homes. I've heard it referred to as genocide. That's not my words, but that's pretty horrific. And the fact that when they were questioned about it, their first response is that the reason why they didn't initially come out with this information is because it put them in an uncomfortable political situation. Was, not a paraphrasing, but pretty close to the wording as far as what was said. So yeah, I mean, if you think about it, Chad has a great point. I mean, if we see these certain events that play this certain political role in our media, to get some kind of, either enticement or some kind of reaction, maybe some, some, I don't even know the word, but like just something that allows people to maybe feel better a little bit. Like, okay, yeah, like, I heard about Cuomo doing this. I'm glad to see it in the news, and almost to get that little dopamine hit as far as like, I'm right. But then once it disappears into the, into the abyss that is, the information world, we completely just forget about it. And, I don't want to tangent, but there's a lot of different instances, like, the Las Vegas shooting we talked about in this. I have not heard a single bit of information about that event since it happened. But, the media is very good at doing that.
Absolutely. And you know what it is? Again, so we can exchange dumb for credulous. Now, whenever I say dumb, I don't mean it in a pejorative sense to just dismiss people as if they're not suitable to have the conversation with me. They're in a credulous position, which means that they're quick to believe somebody that they feel is an authority. No matter what, they're just quick to believe. That's a credulous by definition. That's what I see. I have a number for us. We need to jump on another subject because Joshua and I gotta have to close up this particular episode. All right, so New York is giving $15,600 to undocumented immigrants hit by COVID. Now, what that's going to cost the state of New York is $2.1 billion for a state that's already bankrupt. The state required federal funding. Who's paying that? Federal funding means it's the money they take throughout the country for the federal government, and the federal government gives money. So If you're not paying attention to this stuff, you're not going to know it. And then you're just going to listen to the media. To me, you're lining up for a little bit of a hit every time you turn on the news. If you're listening to them to educate you and you're like, oh, I just need that little, I need that little bit. It's going to tell me what I need to think, how I need to think. And it's like, it's this lazy approach to thinking because you're not researching. Now, if you're not educated on how to research, it's understandable. You're going to want to find people like Joshua and I. You're going to want to find people like, let's say, Tim Pool. Hell, even the comedian, and he's not 100% comedian. He is a comedian, but he's got a very, it's solid news reporting. And that's Steven Crowder. All of this. All right. So there's a lot of that.
Like a public library, you can go to a public library, Chad, and access YouTube and just go to YouTube and say, how to do research. And you'll be able to find a lot of free content that can help you out. Yeah. I mean, the amount of information, and, if you're not, if you're in a certain situation where either you don't have internet or, you don't have the means to access the internet via computer, don't forget, we still have libraries. You can go get a free library card and have access to the internet, and you can, go about the means as far as learning more information on whatever topic you really are trying to seek out.
Unless you're in Georgia.
It's true.
And then you're not allowed to, because you won't be able to figure out how to get to the DMV to get a license.
Yeah.
All the rest of that shit, which, by the way,
very demeaning, by the way.
It's extremely demeaning. It's actually, it's belittling a group of people by saying they can't even go get a fucking license.
I was born in that fucking city. I was born in Atlanta. So you're trying to tell me that I'm not, the place where I come from is not intelligent enough to go to the DMV and get a free license? That's demeaning.
Yeah. So, all right, we got to get to our final topic. And you know what? There's more than a final topic. I'm going to throw this out there. As this particular piece actually continues to unfold, wokeology is continuing to spread like this cancerous, insidious root system from a plant that you just can't stand. But it's under the surface. So the new Captain America is the gay Captain America. And in this new Captain America, Red Skull, which, if you're familiar with this, Red Skull is the kind of the arch villain of Captain America. And he is a Nazi type war era guy that's kind of still believes the ideologies of it. And then there's Captain America, the representation of freedom. And then there's Nazism, the representation of fascism or leftism. So you got all that going on, right? By the way, I threw that last little piece in because that's exactly how I view the left, is they're fascists, even though they go around telling everybody else they are, because projection is a thing and they're a bunch of dumbasses that just don't care to think for themselves. All right. So, Red Skull, in one particular comic, which, by the way, printed comics, they're on their way out to some extent. I think they'll always be around, but it just won't hold the same market level. And this particular Captain America, is Red Skull on a screen. He is talking or whatever to like this villain, whoever this person is, or this person that's being influenced by Red Skull. And in the background of this particular video that he's watching, or the person that's watching it, that you're looking at on the pages, there's 10 rules for life, an antidote to chaos. Do you know what that is lined up with? It's not exactly, it's changed just enough to legally protect the person that made that cartoon. Do you know who that is? Jordan Peterson wrote a book called 12 Rules for Life, an Antidote to Chaos. They're positioning this villain, this Nazi sympathizing villain of Captain America, with Jordan Peterson. Now, Jordan Peterson's book is 12 rules, and this one, it's 10 rules. Jordan Peterson is an old school liberal, not a new school liberal. And for everybody who's more modern and not really looking at the differences over time and different political positions, old school liberals are what they consider now, the far left consider them right or center right. Old school liberals just believe in certain social systems and things like that, but nothing excessive. They're not into intersectionality, that kind of stuff. So if you really want to follow this video and our series to find out more about this, I just found out about this morning. I thought it was interesting, but I also saw it as another hit piece against everything that America stands for overall, which Jordan Peterson is a Canadian psychologist who's
Awesome, man. I
he's
love Jordan Peterson.
awesome. If you haven't looked into it, please do. I promise you, if you appreciate psychology, you'll appreciate him, and it'll leave you dumbfounded that they've made him into a villain. He is to me, he would probably tell me not to say this, but I see him as more of a savior to modern life because of the way he's trying to get people to just get along. Where the left says you don't need to get along and certain people are bad, he's saying grab the closest cross and bear it. Grab the hardest load and carry it. Make your life mean something by hard work and reap the benefits. You will be more satisfied. That's him. He's not saying hate anybody. He's saying just go to work, do things, be responsible. And the left says he's a Nazi. Fucking idiots, man. All right. So all that aside. All right. So what was my last big one? Shit.
Yeah, actually,
I lost it.
If you're looking for like motivation, like in the form of a video, go and watch Jordan Peterson. Like, go look for yourself and see what he's all about. His videos have got me through a lot. Like they really have. Like if I'm down or I'm kind of in my head, I go watch a Jordan Peterson like motivation video, and he'll get you going. He'll get you a little extra step. And if you take to heart, like the science behind psychology, like I think everyone should see a therapist, in my opinion. Like it's super beneficial to kind of digest your own mindset and work on yourself in that aspect. And the fact that now he's being targeted for like completely absurd accusations is it's not a good place to be.
Yeah, he really is one. Check him out. His body of work. He puts a lot of his stuff out there. He's fantastic. I absolutely can't say enough good things about him. By the way, we don't have the same religious positions, although I actually greatly appreciate his and support his to a significant degree. I find people that look at the world the way that I do typically turn into the people that try to lock people into federal buildings and set them on fire, but yet they're not bad people. Those are the types of people, unfortunately, that do see the world through the religious views that I sometimes do. I'm going to leave it as that for now. I will say I don't have any radical views or beliefs or anything like that. I just find those individuals, as soon as they free themselves of any religious positions or thinking, they do atrocities and they try to act as if they're the good guys. I do not feel that way at all. For me, we need to get back to a level where we all say we could work together. I could work with you. Doesn't matter. We can disagree and it's okay. My experience working in the public sphere and directly working with people, different age groups, what I have found is the majority of the younger people are afraid of conflict and will dismiss you, but they will go off and defame you when they feel safe enough to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've recently had a 19-year-old young lady tell me that she really doesn't like conflict, and within necessary 3 breaths said about her great aunt, her aunt, that she was one of those Trumpers, and she just can't even listen to her. Like, what is that going to do for our future if you can't even listen to somebody you disagree with? Time to grow up, people. So, all right. With all that being said, we'll save what I had because I can't recall off the top of my head and I didn't write it down because I'm very bad at my job. We're going to save it for the next one. Joshua, do you have anything else to cover before we get off?
No, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Again, Chad and I always try to come from our own individual perspectives, and I try to take everything that I've gathered on the subjects that we talk to into full consideration. We don't always get it right. This is a discussion platform, and that's kind of ultimately the goal. Today I had an interaction with someone in a little Facebook battle. a different one that I showed you, Chad. And actually, we ultimately came to a conclusion that we agreed that there was a compromise. And I literally told them, like, you don't realize how awesome this is. Like, this is not normality in our world. We want to have winners and losers. So if we could come to more agreements, the world, I think, would be a better place. So hope you enjoyed it. Please leave comments if there's a topic that you want Chad and I to talk about. We'd be more than happy to do so. And stay golden, punny boy. Weekend, it's Friday. Go have some fun. Turn the TV off. Go live your life, and just be present. And we'll get through this. The night is always darkest just before the dawn. So go do your thing, and we'll see you next time.
Absolutely. So with that, I am Sir Chad Everett Broshears, one of your wonderful hosts on Waking the People. And I am joined by my patriot, Joshua Todd McClendon. He's your Kraken too. Until next time, y'all, we're all in this together, man. You can have conversations with people you disagree with. Pay attention to hyperbolic or sensationalized language. When you find it, make sure the other person clarifies what they're saying. Don't let them scoot away and or disagree. Like, just continue to layer and layer and layer what they have to say. If they're not addressing what your questions are, when you make it very simplistic, you catch something hyperbolic or sensationalized, make them make the definition so that you're in the same conversation. If not, you're probably wasting your time. Tell them, you're open to the conversation, but they need to meet you on your terms as well, not just you meet them on theirs. So until next time, again, we're here with you and we're all in this together. All right. Catch you next time.